My name is Eileen O'Connor, and I have been involved with Limerick Literary Festival for many years, in decades in fact, at this stage. Mainly I read fiction, and also I read some sociological stuff, not heavy weight sociological stuff, but mainly fiction and a mixture of Irish, American, translated fiction. Not a voracious, but I suppose, yes, I adore reading. I love reading. And for me, it's a great pleasure going into bookshops. I can't pass a bookshop. And particularly in another place, or bookshops I don't know, have a great allure for me. I'll start with talking to you about Homeland Elegies. Homeland Elegies is by an American author called Ayad Akhtar. And Ayad Akhtar is a Pulitzer Prize winning author whose play Disgraced was on Broadway. And there was a line in it where his main character, Amir, who is a Pakistani lawyer, says that he felt, quote, a blush of pride at 9/11. So this was a sentence that shocked many people and haunted Ayad Akhtar too for a while afterwards. So he got to return to this theme in Homeland Elegies, and he essentially deals with what the experience of being Muslim in America. Now, he's no longer a practicing Muslim himself, and the book is described, or he describes it as autobiographical fiction. Now, essentially what he does is that he uses fiction, or the lens of art, I suppose, to examine his own life, and from the perspective of being a Muslim in America. The next book I'm in the process of reading. Now, this is a book called The Cuddling of the American Mind. And essentially, it's written by two authors who are both academics. And one of them is First Amendment lawyer. So it's about this epidemic of safetyism, the safetyism kind of culture, which really maps this kind of rising intolerance for opposing views, okay? And this essentially they see as a challenge to political debate and free speech, as well as the future of democracy. So really what they're kind of addressing are these measures for overprotecting students from ideas or people who might offend them, and how it can backfire and harm them long term. Anyway, it's interesting. It's not a page turner, as in that you can't turn the page. It's quite, because it packs quite a lot, but it's something that I dip into as I go along. The other two books that I have to talk about here are, one is called Leave the World Behind, and it's by Rumaan Alam. Now, I haven't read the book yet, but I was drawn to the book by a review that I read of it. And it's just come out, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Now, I'm just going to quote you a little bit from the review, and this is what grabbed my attention. They say it's part thriller, and I like reading thrillers too. It's first of all, I'll just tell you briefly what this story is. It's about two couples. One of them are a comfortable New York couple who go take a rent of a beautiful Long Island home. It's kind of Airbnb. And he says they were glad to be able to pantomime ownership of the Vermont stone kitchen tops and the nightlit swimming pool. So they go there with their two children. They are very happy. They're a very happy family. They're happy with their children. And she works in advertising. He writes for the New Yorker. and he also teaches in university. So they are quite content there. And then one night there's a knock at the door, and there is a black couple at the door. He is called George Washington and his wife Ruth. Now they ask to come in, and they tell them that they are actually the owners of the home. And Amanda, who is the wife, who has moved up there, she thinks it's not the sort of place where she thought black people might live. Now, it's no surprise that actually Netflix, I think, are making this for an adaptation of this with Denzel Washington and Julia Roberts. So they move in, and there is this growing kind of tension and worry about what's happening, because George and his wife bring news of some general power outage that there is, and tales of strange happenings. The phones and the internet don't work, TV stations are down. So that's essentially what the setting and what the story is about. Now, Leave the World Behind was written before the coronavirus crisis, yet, I'm quoting here, it taps brilliantly into the feeling of generalised panic that has attached itself to the virus, and seems to mingle fears about climate, inequality, racism, and our over-reliance on technology. As the reader moves through the book, a new voice interjects, an omniscient narrator who begins to allow us gradual access to the terrifying events taking place across America. So I was gripped by that, and I'm looking forward to reading it. So that is my third book, and my final book is a book that I've just only picked up this morning, Négar Djavadi, and the book is Disoriental. This is the book that I felt I should have been reading in French, actually. So I'm really glad to say that Négar Djavadi will be joining us for the Limerick Literary Festival. And she is a French-Iranian author. And this is her first novel. And essentially, again, it's about migrant experience of her parents are Iranian, who left Iran after the fall of the Shah, and they were militant activists. She herself finds herself now in Paris. So effectively, she is talking about the notion of displacement, dislocation, and how, I suppose, even without ever traveling. Now, I've read a lot about this book. So again, I'm just talking from what I've read of it. But it's this notion that we actually are in some form, even without traveling, some way dislocated from ourselves as well. Again, Négar Djavadi, we are delighted will be joining us for the Limerick Literary Festival, courtesy of the French Embassy. So we're very indebted to them for that. And we are delighted that she has agreed to join us.